This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Mark Stoffer Hunter from the Friends of Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation, about a historic preservation event coming up. But first off, Mark, welcome.
Glad to be here.
And before we start talking about the event coming up on June 15th, I just want to say, along with, I think, everybody in Cedar Rapids, how pleased we are that for a while it looked like you were going to have to move away, or not move away, but, not be able to work in Cedar Rapids anymore, but found a way to kind of keep things going, and you're still going to be working in historic preservation here in the Cedar Rapids area, and we're all very happy to hear that.
Great. I appreciate that. It's my passion, Cedar Rapids and history.
Well,
and being
I know
here,
that.
part of my community. So, it's I think it's a really great situation, and I certainly appreciate that. And all the support in the community for me is very much appreciated.
And you're still going to kind of be putting some miles in between here and your family home in the Quad Cities, but we sure appreciate that you're going to continue to have a role in the community.
Yep, I appreciate that. Thank
so
you.
Speaking of that,
Yes.
one of the things that you've been involved with for a long time is the organization Friends of Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation, which is a part of the historic preservation arm of the city. Am I kind of getting that right?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit group that really kind of was
got its own 501c3 and all that kind of thing.
With
Yeah,
kind of the very much the involvement and participation of the city, particularly the community development department, and really grew out of an interest from past and present members of the city's Historic Preservation Commission to really work more closely in conjunction with the city and property owners and developers to really promote preservation, good preservation practices, trying to be very, one of the words we really like to use a lot is proactive in our preservation efforts to try to really get ahead of issues related to historic buildings in the Cedar Rapids city. And one thing we're really trying to work very hard going forward with all the things we do, and this is a big awareness event that we're doing on June 15th, but just try to, get more of that education out there about what historic preservation is, helping people understand what are historic buildings, and some cases just what are old buildings versus historic buildings, and really try to be proactive about ways to lessen the impact of situations where, because a lot of times we all get upset when we lose historic buildings in the Cedar Rapids community. We have a long history of a lot of historic buildings that have come and gone over the years, and some have been preserved and some haven't. So I think when we all work together to, at an earlier stage and at a more proactive level, to get more positive outcomes for a lot of our historic buildings.
Well, the time to preserve the building is before it gets all run down and then sold to be torn down.
Exactly, right. Trying to get ahead of a situation, and also when just paying attention when situations are changing in real estate and where historic buildings are in Cedar Rapids, is just be get involved with who those property owners are and what's happening with that building for its future. And a really good recent example in the community was the United Fire Group in their American building downtown, and they had a great situation there where they were able to preserve this 10-story 104-year-old bank building and yet build something really new and exciting downtown at the same time. And I think that was a good example of something where, we had a good mix of the classic historic building still being a part of downtown Cedar Rapids, and yet moving forward into the 21st century with new downtown development and trying to make it kind of a win-win scenario all around, and then doing what we can for all of our historic neighborhoods, including the downtown and the core neighborhoods.
So the Preservation Showcase is an event that is coming up on June 15th, and it's an opportunity to learn about historic preservation, tour a bunch of historic buildings in and around the downtown area. So tell me about what's going to be going on that day.
This will be Saturday, June 15th, so it's coming up pretty soon now, and we're inviting everyone to come down to kind of a really fantastic block right at the edge of the downtown area and right at the edge of the Med Quarter. The Med Quarter district there. So we're talking about the block between 1st Avenue and 2nd Avenue and 8th Street and 10th Street. And of course, that's where the History Center is. And also we have the involvement of not just the History Center, but the many of the historic sites that are on that block, the Grantwood Studio, which of course is operated by the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art, the Iowa Masonic Library and Museum, the Genealogical Society of Linn County, which is housed in the lower level of the Masonic Library, the Ausadie Apartments, which is a great historic building.
Very historic and
very
beautiful
historic.
building.
Beautiful building right next door to the Iowa Masonic Library. For any of you who don't know, they call it Ausadie because it was built by Austin Palmer who invented the Palmer method.
Palmer method of writing
Palmer method
that
of cursive writing.
all of us of a certain age
Yes.
you learn how to write cursive using that method. And he was from Cedar Rapids.
He was from Cedar Rapids. He developed the Palmer method of penmanship in the Cedar Rapids Business College here. And his wife's name was Sadie. His first name was Austin. So they combined their first names together when they built this investment of an apartment building and called it Ausadie. And that's really kind of how that happened. So
and this building is a private residence, so it's not something you can get in and take a look at very often. But it is beautiful. I've been there, and it's beautiful.
But the focus of this is to have a focus on acknowledging people. We're going to have a preservation showcase, series of events and tours and open houses and opportunities for people to visit all these sites on this block. And then also learn more about historic preservation. We're going to have an award ceremony towards the end of the afternoon. Most of these events will be happening between 9, 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. And we'll be acknowledging, as we have for many years, the efforts that people have done, private and public, for preserving our Cedar Rapids historic landmarks here. And we'll be acknowledging that. But before that, we're encouraging people to come down, visit all these sites I just mentioned. And on top of all that, even the Cedar Rapids Central Fire Station is involved. They're having an event
which is not an old building.
It's not an old building, but it's patterned. Their new Central Fire Station, which I still call it new, even though it's almost 6 years old now, was architecturally designed to reflect the architecture of the classic Central Fire Station that was for so many years down at 427 First Street Southeast that later got converted into the Science Station. So they really kind of wanted to build a classic historic look to that new building. But the Cedar Rapids Fire Department is having their 150th anniversary this year. So this is from 1869. So they're celebrating history as well. So all of the components, people are welcome to visit all these places. The History Center, Iowa Masonic Library and Museum, Genealogical Society will all be open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Masonic Library Museum is free to visit, so is genealogy. If I recall correctly, I think there is an admission at the History Center. The Grant Wood Studio in the Carriage House, where Grant Wood obviously lived and did American Gothic, other works of art, that's open from 12 to 4. We're going to have some workshops. We're going to have, I'll be leading, one of the highlights that I'll be doing during the day is at, if I remember my times right, 10:30 in the morning. And I believe
looks like 11:30 and 2 p.m. I'm looking at the website even as we speak.
Good.
I think that's what it says.
Yeah, something like that. I thought it was like, I'm doing 2 bus tours. These are bus tours of going around Cedar Rapids, which a lot of people, if you haven't had a chance to go on a bus tour.
If you've not been on a Mark Stoffer Hunter bus tour, you are missing out, because I have, and I just love the stories you tell about and all over, not just downtown.
Oh, yeah.
But all over. And I know you talk about all the different places and the different businesses through the years that have been in certain areas and certain buildings. It's really a trip down memory lane.
But it's a first come, first serve. So we're scheduling 2 for today. So again, check our website. It's Friends of Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation. The other PR that's going out about this. We're going to have signs placed up by the Masonic Library, and the Med Quarter has been very generous in working with us on parking situations here and so forth. There'll be plenty of parking around the site, but the bus tours will be first come, first serve. So once the bus fills up, just to remind everybody, we have 2 of those, but that's a great highlight of the day that I'm really looking forward to doing. We'll have all kinds of signs up around the site to let you know where things are going to be and where they're going to start. We'll have historic preservation workshops going on. We're going to have the award ceremony towards the end of the day on the site to acknowledge historic preservation efforts. And again, it's a remarkable opportunity. I mean, if you haven't, one thing is you haven't taken a bus tour with me, or if you want to take it again, that's a great opportunity. If you've always wanted to go into that Masonic Library on First Avenue with the big lions, on the front, here's a great chance to do that. Here's a chance, a remarkable opportunity to tour the inside of the Ausadie apartments. Go to the History Center if you haven't had a chance to go there yet since they've opened last October. Visit Grant Wood Studio. Everyone could really come and make quite a day of it, and do it all at one centralized location and meet people in the community. Those of us who are involved in active preservation of Cedar Rapids history. Because a lot of times we hear so many people in the community say, how can I get involved? How can I learn more about preserving Cedar Rapids historic buildings, rather than just watching something happen to them and they don't feel like they have a control over it? There's a lot of people that are working really hard all the time. and we want to increase those numbers for people to get involved and get excited. We know there's a lot of people out there that absolutely love our historic treasures. And this is a great way for all of us to get together. There's going to be antique cars. We're going to have it all. I mean, there'll be just a lot of stuff. You just go down to that block, and you're just going to see so much activity going on Saturday, June 15th. We're really looking forward to seeing all of you, and you'll see me there all day long. So
the event is the Preservation Showcase with the Friends of Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation, Saturday, June 15th. Admission is free to most things, and you can find out more on the website, which is a very long URL, but it's pretty obvious. It's Friends of Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation.org. So right now it is taking up literally the entire bottom of my screen for those who are watching the video. Well, Mark, thanks so much for coming in. It looks like a great, fun afternoon, and I hope a lot of people come and get to know a little bit more about Cedar Rapids history.
We look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday the 15th. Thank you.
Again, it's Friends of Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation.org if you'd like to learn more and see the schedule of events. And you can hear the Culture Crawl here on KCCK live on the radio most Thursdays and Fridays at 10:20, or download the video podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at using your favorite podcast app or at kcck.org/culture. I'm Dennis Green.